While I was on my binge for the Criterion Collection, I was able to finally cross off a film that had been on my list since I was 12. So, a hot second. I knew it was one of the greatest romances ever made, but I didn't realize a lot of the elements that made that the case until this introduction by the Criterion Collection set the scene. So, in this video for the Borealis company, we're going to take a look at In the Mood for Love and how it uses restraint as its keystone across every element of its storytelling.
揾棵樹，喺棵樹嗰度畫個窿，然之後將啲秘密講晒入去。
We're going to take this element and view it through three lenses: restraints for storytelling, restraint as storytelling, and restraint in the storytelling itself. There are going to be some pretty big spoilers in this video, but in order to better avoid copyright issues, I'm going to try to keep the video short so I don't have to taint the cinematography with filters or mirror it if I can help it. First, let's talk about restraint for the storytelling. For those who don't know, or have never seen it, In the Mood for Love is about two neighbors, Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow, who both discovered that their respective spouses are cheating on them with each other. So, to better understand how it happened, they spend the rest of the film reenacting potential moments where the emotions would have led their partners to cheat. In doing so, however, they wind up falling in love with each other. And the last few moments, or scenes, are them going their separate ways, not acting upon their urges to love each other. For a lot of us, especially in the Western world, I think, this is where an eye for an eye would feel justified. It would be okay to cheat if your partner cheated first. It may be a sin, but at least it's not the original sin. And more importantly, you're not committing that original sin. But there's something so beautiful about recognizing that that's the case and not acting upon it. This is a pretty cut and dry example of resisting temptation, but the way that it's constructed is beautiful because it's one of the few times where I found the justification for this restraint believable, without feeling high and mighty or just out of left field. Mr. Chow's choice to not act upon it is the right thing to do, but the moments after, even years later, are so heartbreaking. Even the silent prayer that Mr. Chow finishes the film with feels just too sacred to reveal. And it's because, in a grander sense, restraint for the characters means restraint for the audience as well. A lot of characters in stories are designed to be surrogates for the audience in order for them to be more familiar with what's going on, and therefore connect to the themes in the narrative even more. For all my Mortal Kombat fans out there, this is Cole Young in a nutshell. I bring Cole up especially because he's the most obvious example of when this goes wrong, because there are so many characters in the Mortal Kombat lore that adding a character just to get the audience more connected is pointless. Just choose from an already huge catalog. I mean, they did it in the 90s with Liu Kang and it turned out fine for that story. But if the character is new, then the rest of the characters have to exposition dump like their lives depend on it, and therefore give the audience what they need to know in order to better enjoy the story, at least in theory. So what happens if your audience surrogates are restrained? Then it creates a dynamic for the audience that forces the audience to be more contemplative and intuitive towards the actions of the characters and events of the narrative. When it's done right, it doesn't feel like the director or the writer is creating a fill-in-the-blank story, but rather a story that comes from the idea of, I trust the audience is smart enough to understand what's going on. Just like Mr. Chow and Mrs. Chan. Second, let's take a look at restraint as a storytelling device. I'm going to minimize this as much as I can since Nerdwriter 1 has a great video essay on this very thing that I'll leave a link to in the description, but In the Mood for Love applies the concept of restraint even down to its editing and cinematography techniques. So much so that when weather and piping act as framing devices, quiet smoke from a cigarette feels oddly liberating. The editing, however, is linear but choppy sometimes, even resisting the same moment from a different angle or perspective. When they move on from one moment to another, like being together in the car, it continues to restrain the narrative by only showing snippets, not even considering if those snippets are important and display the necessary parts of the story. But the restraint makes everything feel like a distant memory, which is what eventually happens as the characters continue to grow and develop without each other. Again, another restraint, but who use that chunk of life to just carry on. Finally, let's take a look at restraint within the storytelling. Something I was not expecting when I was watching this is that you never really see the other spouses. They're typically only mentioned in conversation. So they're more concepts than characters. It's something that I don't see in every story, but I absolutely love it when it's there, because the film is restrained to where everything we see is subjective to the point of being questionable if not reliable. The narrative itself is restrained to the perspective of just Mr. Chow and Mrs. Chan. We never spend time with any of the other characters. I mean, hell, we only know the surnames of these two characters. we don't know the full names, which is even more mind-boggling to me that we get so little information, but it's so impactful. There's no extra scene that helps the audience better understand the landlord of Mr. Chow's co-workers or even the spouses together. This is a more obvious example of the audience being just as restrained as the characters, to the point where when something is revealed, no matter how mundane or choppy or restrained, we make it impactful and purposeful. Every moment, no matter how mundane, is suddenly a major event, which tells me as an audience member that we are in the hands of a master storyteller. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments if you want to see a video on another film like this, whether that's a film directed by Wong Kar-wai, a film from Hong Kong cinema, or a film for the Criterion Collection, or hell, something else entirely. And if I haven't announced it yet, if you like original work, check out my sister channel Borealis Stories, coming very soon.